Well, good morning and welcome to this week's Kids Slot. I've got my thinking cap on ready to go. I hope you've got yours nearby or even on your head, even better. You will also need something else this morning. You will need one of a stinky flip-flop. Here we go. One day, Naomi came to Ruth with a plan. My daughter, you must have a future where you are provided for. Tonight, Boaz will be winnowing barley. So I want you to wash, have a good soak in the tub, get yourself nice and clean, put on some perfume, dress in your best clothes, and I'll tell you what you need to do next. So Ruth made her way down to the threshing floor where Boaz was working, making sure that she wasn't seen. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking, he lay down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth crept up to him, uncovered his feet, and lay down. During the night, Boaz woke to find a woman asleep at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she replied. "Spread the corner over your garment over me, as you are a family redeemer." A family redeemer was someone who was obliged by the law to look after a relative in need. Boaz was related to Naomi's dead husband, Elimelech. "The Lord bless you," replied Boaz. "You have not run after younger men, and people know that you are a woman of good character. I am your family redeemer. But there is another person who is more closely related than I am. If he is not willing to redeem you, then I will." Ruth lay at his feet until morning. Boaz filled the shawl she was wearing with grain to take back to Naomi. Boaz went straight to the town gate where all the business deals were done. When he saw the family redeemer who was more closely related to Naomi's former husband than he was, he asked him to sit down with 10 elders gathered as witnesses. "Naomi is selling the land that belonged to our relative Elimelech," Boaz explained. "You have the first right to buy it, but if you do not want to, then I will." "Oh, I cannot buy the land without it causing me lots of problems for my own estate. You buy it, as I cannot." Now it was the custom to seal a deal on buying property by taking off a sandal and giving it to the other. The family redeemer who had first choice on the land took off his sandal and gave it to Boaz. Boaz made an announcement to the elders and to those gathered. "Today I have bought from Naomi the property of Elimelech and his sons Mahlon and Chilion. I have also got Ruth the Moabite as my wife. You are my witnesses." So Boaz married Ruth, and the Lord blessed them with a son. Women told Naomi, "Praise the Lord, he has looked after you in your old age. Ruth loves you and is better to you than 7 sons." Ruth and Boaz's son was called Obed. Obed was the father of Jesse, whose youngest son David became king of Israel. And a relative of David was Mary, the mother of Jesus. So what an amazing transformation we have seen in this short little book. From death to life, from bitterness and sadness to joy. Naomi, who at the end of chapter 1 said she was empty, by the end of chapter 4, her arms are full. What on earth is all this talk about family redeemers, and what was all that stuff about passing stinky sandals between each other? Huh? So whilst there are some things in this story that are a little bit confusing, once we stop to think about it all a little bit more, we'll see that a bit like a trailer for a movie is just a short little snippet that points to something even bigger and better and more brilliant, so this little story of Ruth is a little snippet that shows us something amazing, points forward to a much bigger, better, greater story. To help us understand this, the first thing we need to do is have a think about the difference between the unnamed family redeemer, who doesn't get a name, and Boaz. What's the difference between them? Do you remember what happened in the story? Well, Boaz knows that unnamed family redeemer is a closer relative to Naomi than he is. So he says to this guy, listen, you have the first choice whether or not you want to buy Naomi's land and take on the responsibility for looking after Naomi and for Ruth and for their whole estate. It's up to you. You got the first choice. And this guy, he doesn't take too long to think about it, does he? He says, I cannot do it. It was actually a big thing to have to take on. It would have cost a lot of money. It was a lot of extra responsibility to take on. And potentially a bit risky as well. And this guy, well, he's just a bit too selfish to do that. He's just thinking about his own interests and what he wants to do. And so he says, no, I'm not going to help. Whereas Boaz, on the other hand, he's driven by self-sacrificial love to bear the enormous costs to rescue Naomi and Ruth and to look after them. He didn't think about himself. He took on the debt. He bore the costs. He took on the shame and the risks in order to rescue Ruth and Naomi. Takes on the debt, takes on the shame, bears the cost, self-sacrificial love. Who does that remind us of? Jesus, isn't it? That's what he did. In a much bigger and more amazing way. Boaz is a picture of Jesus, isn't he? Jesus' self-sacrificial love, where he took on our debt, our sin, where he rescued us. He laid down his life to rescue us. Wow.